Welcome back to the Oracle Scroll. Is anyone else confused? Hi, I'm Kevin Walder, your host for the Oracle Scroll. Today's card is number 25, Confusion. Oh boy. Well, here we are in 2020. There's been plenty of confusion up until this point, and starting in about February of 2020, the confusion ramped up. We live in a world of confusion. Now, much of the confusion that surrounds us is planned. And unfortunately, we have to recognize the fact that confusion amongst the populace benefits some people greatly. So they will do everything in their power to keep us in that state of confusion rather than allow us to see our way through the situation. So we have to try to figure out how we can do our own research, because sometimes the research that we're given, just looking things up on Google, is not necessarily going to give us factual answers. We have to be very discerning. We have to listen carefully, read carefully, reread carefully, and look at the history that is behind the source, making sure that we are accepting fact rather than confusion and fiction. Confusion helps to keep us disorganized. Confusion helps to keep us from having a singular focus. We're not able to gather in groups, and we're not able to propose solutions that are universally accepted because we're all confused. And we all assume everyone else is confused, especially those who might not be confused. That's the real issue. When we start to question the facts, then we have a real problem. And we have to be able to prove those things to ourselves. That doesn't mean we don't ever want to, do a fact check. Fact checks are extremely important as far as I'm concerned. If you cannot be honest, and if you use confusion and disarray as a means to your end, then there's something really wrong with your policy. There's something really wrong with your ideology. If that's how you have to go about winning your case and winning your followers, is to keep everyone confused, then you have a serious, serious deficit that needs to be overcome. But for those of us who are not fond of confusion, those of us who really want to get to the bottom of things, how do we begin to do that? Well, it isn't always easy, and I'm not going to tell you I have all the answers. But there are various sources that are more trustworthy than others, and we can choose to get our news and our information from those sources rather than subscribing to sources that are definitely biased on one side or the other. Bias is basically, bias doesn't necessarily tell a lie, though it does definitely do that at times. It doesn't necessarily require a telling of a lie. It just requires leaving out really important pieces of evidence and really important pieces of the truth. That's all it's required to create a confusion. And if we look around us drive down any street and look at the signs in the yards, the political signs in this season of this election year. Drive down any street and you will see confusion reigns. There's no consensus. There is no understanding of what really is necessary, and no understanding of what is really true and just in our system these days. So confusion is serving some of these folks very well. It's keeping us so disorganized and so disoriented that we have no idea how to oppose their, well, totalitarian demands. Let's be honest. So we have to individually take it upon ourselves to abolish confusion, to get rid of as much confusion in our lives. Now, we're always going to have some things that don't make sense. There are going to be people who flip-flop. We thought we knew where they stood, and suddenly they're on the opposite side of the issue. Those things have happened for decades and centuries, even in politics especially. So we have to be very careful not to necessarily subscribe to individuals, but subscribe to facts. Subscribe to the things that we can verify. And if we cannot verify, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a lie. We just simply cannot verify the thing that's being proposed. Confusion. Yes, there are lots of areas in life that are confusing, and especially now, there are lots of areas of things that we thought we could trust and things that we thought we could build a future on, and they are going away. So there's a lot more confusion right now than we have been used to over many decades. So now we have to look at this card number 25, which extrapolates out to a 7. We've been talking about that a little bit. Creative visualization is that's how I think of a 7. A 7 says it calls upon us to look forward, to put ourselves in that place, and to imagine exactly how we would respond in a certain situation to a certain stimuli. And that is what confusion fears most. It's the way we would clear everything up. So let's not let the confusion completely disable us, because it can do that. We just need to keep clarity and keep working at making the choices that prove themselves over time. Thank you once again for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. My books, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, and more recently, 22 Teachers, Healing Lessons from the Major Arcana, are both available on Amazon.com. Please check them out. They are very informative and helpful in learning and understanding the tarot. Also, please stop by kevinwalder.com, my website. You can book appointments for any of the services available at that spot. So stop by and take a look today. And most importantly, please subscribe by hitting the little red button down below, and also click the bell to make sure you don't ever miss an episode.